Hello, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of the Coaching Conversation. In this series, we're aiming to help business owners, business leaders, and fellow coaches by sharing our experience and the experience of our guests who've coached people all around the world in all of different sectors and industries that you can imagine. So, very little more to say other than do please now sit back, relax, and enjoy this edition, and look out for a special offer for our loyal audience at the end of the programme. Hello everybody, welcome to yet another edition of the Coaching Conversation. Today I'm joined by Eddie Irvin, all the way from Nashville, Tennessee, and we're going to talk about actually achieving a return on investment with AI, however incredible that might appear. Eddie, welcome to the Coaching Conversation. Could you let our audience know a bit about you and how you are now focusing on AI and how to make it profitable?
Sure. Awesome. Yeah, so I'm Eddie Irvin. I'm originally from Buffalo, New York, near Niagara Falls, and now live in Nashville, Tennessee. I love AI. I love tech. And I've been a creative problem solver for most of my life. And getting into software development at first, moving into, building an agency and then focused on app planning and creating blueprints for business, for systems, software systems that run to help run the business. AI was kind of the natural next step as everybody is, trying to figure out what are we doing with this and how can it help us. I dove in with both feet. So I'm really excited to chat with you here today, and happy to get into it.
AI, it's a term that encompasses so many different things. It obviously
Yeah.
encompasses these long language models, ChatGPT, Claude, all of those examples. But there are also other much more specific applications, aren't there? What's your specialization?
Yeah, well, ultimately, the main thing that I'm fantastic at is bridging the business needs and the vision of the business owner with technical requirements and the development world. I can speak both languages. Some developers don't have as much of that social skill to be able to chat with business owners, but they'll take direction and be able to build well. So I'm able to bridge both sides because I know the development side well, and I'm also an entrepreneur and have spent a lot of time connecting with entrepreneurs and in that world. So when we talk about harnessing AI, you're right. There's a million different things that we could kind of talk about in and around that. The most simple is going to chatgpt.com or going to Claude, and being able to just have this conversation with a chat bot essentially. But then it extends all the way to, putting up an image and having it read it, being able to turn me into somebody else by using AI video systems, duplicating your voice and being able to save your voice to an AI system and then just type up a podcast and have it just click a button and all of a sudden you've created this whole audio file from text. So many different ways we can use AI, and that's just the beginning. I mean, there's a million different things we can do. What's coming to mind right now is I don't even know why this is coming to mind, but there's a system for farming where this machine rolls down and using AI, it spots a weed and it zaps it with a laser, and it spots another weed and it zaps it with a laser. AI can be used in so many different ways,
Yeah.
and it's changing everything. It's coming for us all. And I prefer to stay on top of that as opposed to this huge tsunami being underneath it. I'd rather be on top of it. But it's amazing. I'm so glad that we get to be at this time in life, being able to actually harness this technology. It's
Yeah.
changing everything.
And when you engage with, for example, a CEO or a C-suite team, what are the kinds of challenges they're facing? What are they looking to you for help with?
Yeah, so it's a lot of it's repetitive tasks. So the idea is that kind of in the same way when a calculator came out, oh, we don't have to use paper and pen anymore. We can just use this, special tool to be able to do math faster. Same kind of thing there. So as people are, as CEOs are looking at what's going on, it's either that they're inundated with a ton of tasks that they either don't want to do or are just trying to keep up with, and they want to use AI to be able to help them, or they're trying to help their team use AI and use it effectively. So it's really both of those different places. And sometimes the CEO is saying it's better for me to focus on what my team's doing and get them going. And sometimes the CEO is drowning in the thousands of emails they've got to get back to, and they need a better system to kind of route things together, or an outbound system to be able to reach out to people to pull leads in. Anything that a human is doing in the business, we can have AI at least help in part. And this is something that I think is a kind of a misconception with AI, that AI is just going to take over everything and we're just going to go to the beach and there's going to be nothing left to do. Quite the opposite. I think what's happened here is, more so just like a calculator helps, the financial person save a lot of time when they're trying to do math. AI is helping us save a lot of time doing what we do already. It also will cut out a certain number of jobs when they're kind of below a certain skill set, or, simplistic and repetitive enough that a computer can take care of it. But there's always room for improvement. There's always room for ingenuity and being able to harness these systems. And so I see it more of a tool than anything, that it's a tool that humans use, kind of along the lines of the calculator again. It's something that humans are using to be able to save time where it took them an hour before. Now that same task can take 5 or 10 minutes.
And when you're meeting with a new prospect client, how does the mindset of the CEO affect how you can help them?
That's a good question. Could you expand on that a little bit? Are you talking about mindset with how they see AI, or the mindset in entrepreneurship, or could you
Well,
expand a
how
little
they're
bit?
approaching the opportunity or the threat that AI offers them.
Mm.
Are you finding that they're perhaps lost in fog? They don't quite know where they are, or they've got a very clear image of what they think AI can do, and that may be totally plausible or completely ludicrous. What are
Yeah.
you finding?
Well, it's really both, right? There's a whole gamut of people that either the CEO has been harnessing AI themselves. They're playing with Claude, they're playing with Claude Code, they're playing with building their own apps and getting things going themselves, or they know that AI needs to be something they harness, but they've got no idea how to do it. So it really is all over the place. The main through line is that they all know that they need to harness AI, that they need to do something to be able to take advantage of AI. And essentially, it's akin to kind of putting up a sail when everybody else is kind of sailing off. They put up a sail and they're sailing off into the ocean, and they're saying, "Well, how do I put up a sail and capture this wind?" But ultimately, it's coming down to that own CEO's experience with AI themselves. And again, CEOs are they're running the gamut. Some CEOs are so deep into AI, they're using it every day and they're using it every hour in their business. And other CEOs are just saying, I need help. Let's get going. But the main through line is that we need to be able to harness this. They understand that AI can save them time in writing blog posts, reaching out, and creating custom messages there. AI can help analyze thousands of documents at once and anytime, for sales, for instance. If there's a bunch of sales calls going on, before you had to listen to all the sales calls to see what was going on. Now we can just create transcripts and then distill that all down to a dashboard. So the CEO's view of their business is now going to expand, where before they were just saying, hey, you take care of it, and then they're trusting their team to take care of it. Now they can have information coming back to them to give them even more insight and optics into what's happening in the business, where that used to be cost prohibitive and they weren't able to, hire somebody to listen to every single sales call. Now AI can easily do that and then distill down those insights to help give them some more ideas of what's going on in their business.
So when a team, a CEO or his C-suite team are looking to explore AI, and it's going to involve an investment either of time or cash, how do you help them work out what the potential or ROI is, or indeed how to make sure they secure the return on investment?
Yeah,
What's the
yeah.
input you give at that point?
Totally. Well, and for anything you can build with AI, there's going to be some low-hanging fruit that is easy to build and quick and just starts working right away. And then on the opposite side of that spectrum, things that are much more difficult to do that likely should stay as a job that humans do for the time being. And so we go straight to those top tasks of all the things we could possibly do with AI. We can't build everything at once. So what are we starting with? And so we take a look at again, where's the main focus of all the things coming at it from kind of the point of the CEO. Is it that we're trying to save them an hour or two or five a week, and that will then give them the biggest return because now even just unlocking a few hours for them a week now means they go shake more hands, they go meet more, more other businesses to be able to work with, or is it that they are the type of business in order for them to scale, they've got to hire and hire and hire, and there's no end in sight. For them to double the revenue, they've got to double the workload. Now they're trying to think, well, I need to be more efficient, right? In this day and age, we've got to have that in mind that instead of just hiring our way out of the problem, we have to take a look at what's actually happening. And if it's taking an hour or two for somebody to get a certain task done, and we can apply AI to be able to help at least in part with that task. And that task happens 5, 10, 15, 20 times a day, every single day for the longevity of the business. We can now apply systems there, right? So it comes down to a relatively quick conversation on, where would you like to start? And ultimately, the place that I'm leaning into is helping them guide as far as, here's what matters to me and here's what I want to work on next. Here's the main problem I want to solve. And then I come with a solution to bridge that to tech, to make it reality, to go from the business owner saying, well, I'm drowning in emails and I need to be able to automate my emails. We could go 50 to 100 different ways, building different kinds of systems, putting different software together, different automations together. My job is to come up with a solution that can help get them to that finish line and get within a few weeks, get some sort of system that helps them save time there. So it's trying to plan out what's the best path through the forest here as they've got this problem. They're trying to kind of walk through fixing this problem, whether that's AI or automation or a combination of both. And I want to bring up an important point here that now, because AI is so hot, everybody's saying AI, when in some cases, all we need is just automation. In some cases, we're downloading a file over here and then we're uploading it over there. We're just sending something through. There's no thought work in between those
Yeah.
2 points. And so sometimes, well, really, what a lot of what I'm seeing now is we're also just applying regular old automation. But these CEOs maybe don't know the difference between AI and automation, and they're just saying kind of AI in general. So as we try to apply AI, it's really a combination of AI and automation together, some of which of the automation is just dumb and just needs to pass something along to something else to save that person time.
Yeah, I've definitely seen people apply the AI sticker to things that are, as you quite rightly say, basic automation or basic number crunching in very simple terms.
Yeah.
AI is a journey for us all, and we're all wondering and exploring what it can do for us. Does that make investments in AI sometimes quite risky to actually achieve the return that you're looking for?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, anytime you're stepping into a new area, there's plenty of ways it can go wrong. I mean, even just take AI out of it. Let's just talk about software, right? I've spent so many years focused on building blueprints for founders. They're trying to build an app for to be able to set off in a new direction in their business, and mainly they came to me for the technical part, right? I don't know how to build an app. I want to go to a development team, but I don't want to get hosed. I don't want to start the project and then realize it's going to be way more expensive. So I focused on creating blueprints for them in the same way that you'd build a house. You don't just say, start building, and then later you go, oh, no, no, move that window over there and change that door. You start with a solid plan, a very, very detailed, solid plan. And so that's what I was doing for them. And as we went, what I found is a lot of the business owners were actually sitting there with a marketing problem when they were focused on the technical problem. Now, to be honest, they had both problems. They didn't know about the technical part, but they also didn't know about the marketing. So coming to me for the technical part, I can help them. I've been building software for 10, 15 years. So I know what I'm doing as far as that goes. But they were walking into then a marketing problem. Once the software's done, Who's going to use it? How affordably can you bring them into your system? Do you know how to run ads? Do you know how to create content? Right. And it started that other conversation. So, now when we're talking about AI and people saying, well, I just want to harness AI, what happened is that a lot of these big companies just said, turn on AI, turn on all the agents, let's go. And they just hopped in. And MIT did a study that 95% of those pilots failed because what
Wow.
the teams did is they just said, turn it on. I don't know what it is. It seems like magic. Go ahead. But it ended up creating more trouble because essentially what happened is they hired a bunch of people and then just said, go work. They didn't train them. They didn't audit them. They didn't make sure that they were heading the right direction and doing the right thing. They just said, you're hired, go. And just assumed that AI could figure it out. And this is where a lot of people go wrong is I see AI as just a junior employee. It can do a great job if I set it up right. If I give it boundaries, if I give it context, if I give it training, if I work with it back and forth, kind of like a ping pong match. Hey, show me what you got. Okay, let's mold it a little bit. Let's shape it. Let's change it. You're molding and shape in the same way you'd mold and shape a person who is coming into your organization. You want to mold and shape AI. And so what a lot of these companies did is they just said, we'll turn it on and go because they didn't really understand what was happening. And then it ended up creating more trouble. So that's a lot of what's happening now is people are realizing you can't just turn AI on and go. We've got to spend more time with it. And there's a kind of a phase and a cycle with AI development where yes, we need to get the thing working, but once it's working, now the real work begins. How good is the output? Did it hallucinate? Did it mess up? Did it get confused? What happened with it? In the same way you'd analyze a human coming into your business, how do they do? What's going on? Are you confused? Can I help you? Show me the report you created. Oh, here on page 3, this wasn't exactly what I wanted. Here's what I'm looking for. Try it again. And so that's really the huge way to make AI profitable and dependable and successful is having that in mind that this is an arc. It's not just a build it and go, it's a build it and work with it and train it and watch it and audit it. And then we mold this to be better and better and better as time
And
goes
the
on.
key ingredient, as it was with the original blueprint software, is know what the end you have in mind is.
Yes.
Know where you're
Yes.
trying to get to, and quite rightly apply AI as a tool, simply as the tool that
Yes.
gets you to that outcome. And I
Yes,
think,
exactly.
and whilst you might be exploring and molding the actual methodologies as you're going along and you're understanding what its capabilities are, in the end, it produces a return by achieving the output, whether that's a staff reduction or an increased service level or some other competitive edge. By delivering that outcome, that's how you maximize, that's how you reassure yourself of the potential of the return from the investment you're going to make. That's a
You
really
got it. And
interesting and important start point, rather than, as you
yes,
quite rightly, just let's go play with AI. That's okay as a learning curve, but it's not actually an investment, is it? It's just a use of time and a learning experience.
sure. And I would also posit that it's important to start with doing less, do a small amount of automation and do it right. And then build on top of it and build on top of it. What people do sometimes is we talk about, we did this with software too, oh, I wanted to do all this stuff and it's going to be huge and it's going to be everything. And we're kind of up in the clouds with it, which is fantastic when you're starting. But when it comes time to actually building the thing, we want to distill it down to the most minute, small little thing and get extremely specific. What exactly is happening? Where exactly are we connecting it? What are all the parts and pieces all the way down to the last little nail? And then as we build up from there, it's actually solid ground. Sometimes they'll stay up here in the clouds and leave those decisions or kind of that system solution to whoever's building and just say, oh, just make it work. And this kind of waving away of like, oh, just make it work like this. If we can take some time to really distill down and look at it deeply, all the way down to the fundamental level, this is connecting here. This will then go there. This will then have a decision point where it needs to choose one of these 4 things. Then that's going to get analyzed. Then that will bring back a report. It's an assembly line. And so instead of kind of talking about the assembly line like, oh, the factory is going to make cars. You put in metal over here and then out you get a car. It's like, okay, great. That's a good starting place. But now we need to talk about the first machine. What piece of metal do we pick up? How are we supposed to bend it? How are we supposed to cut it? What does good look like? Right? What are we doing in that one tiny little piece? And sometimes this feels slow because you're saying, well, I have to create a whole factory to be able to create this whole car end to end. And if you stay too big picture, you actually end up shooting yourself in the foot, like that MIT study where 95% of pilots failed because they go, well, just make it work. It's AI, it's magic, just go. Versus, no, this one piece, let's get it right. Oh, it's working right. Good. We don't have to babysit it anymore. That's all solid. Now I get to work on the next piece. And we just keep adding Legos. When we prove that they're actually working, then when we get 10 Legos long or 20 Legos long, it's solid and it's actually working for us. Things will still go wrong here or there, but it works. And as a software developer, I'm trained in and looking for, you know, know what exactly is it supposed to do, and then using it and paying attention to, did it do it right? Can I make it mess up? Can I make it fail? And poking it and prodding it a little bit until we realize, this is solid, and then we can build on top of it. And I had a moment a week ago. I was working on a voice agent, kind of like an interview agent, essentially, where it was asking these interview questions, and I tried kind of many different methods of going about this. There's many different methods of kind of setting up the architecture to do it, and I had kind of different success in different ways. Sometimes where I was storing each answer in a spreadsheet. The system would ask a question, and then it would store the answer in kind of a very structured manner. But what I found out is that then that system, because it was so rigid, had difficulty going back to other questions. If it was on question 4 and then they said something like, oh, wait, no, I want to add something to question 2, it got confused. It needed extra help to understand, hey, if we're going back to a question, save what we had before and then add it. Don't overwrite what we had for question 2. So things like that can really, impact the full product. When at first glance, it was like, oh, this thing is saving every single question. Fantastic. And then we threw a little bit of a wrench in there and said, well, no, wait, no, go back to the other question. That made that type of solution not the best way to solve the problem, right? So the way that I came about the new solution that's working well is basically leaving the conversation up to the AI, not trying to save every single answer in real time, but then afterwards, once we've had the whole conversation, now we take the transcript and we put that through processing to say, find each individual answer and then put that in a spreadsheet. So even things like that, where, as we're trying to deploy a voice agent, there's so many different ways of doing it. And if we're not testing it in different ways, if we're not trying to break it and trying to throw a wrench in it, we're going to be setting up a system that may work at first, but then later may break. And that's really where we get in trouble with AI, not only because of what I just talked about before, but because AI is not deterministic. It's not like software where once you get it right, it just works that way perfectly and it never does anything different. AI can think. AI can go outside the bounds. And so we've got to be even more solid about setting these boundaries and what it needs to do and how it needs to do it, and testing it a lot to be able to assure success.
So what I'm hearing, Eddie, is when you first engage with the concept of using AI within your business, know what it is you want it to deliver for you,
Hmm.
and then explore in detail how it's actually going to do that and build those steps or those elements of the process chunk by chunk and do it in a way where you can prove that it's actually doing what you asked it or you require it to do, so that as you get to the end of the chain of steps, you've actually got reliably the outcome that you want and you've invested for. Did I get that about right?
You got it. Exactly right. Because if you don't, then it's flimsy. Yeah, you may have some times where it goes straight up and you go, great, oh, it worked. But then the next time it fails at step number five, and then everything after step number five is a waste. And you go, what the heck happened? So as we spend more time with each step, thinking about it too, kind of like when I was a kid, I would dig to the side of a stream. I would dig a little channel to the side of a stream, and the water would come that way. And I go, ooh, I've captured the water this way, and I dig a little bit more, and I dig a little bit more. If that beginning area, right where the stream is starting to go a different direction, if that gets blocked with a few rocks, it doesn't matter if you've dug 20 feet in that direction, the water isn't getting there. So you've got to really keep in mind, step by step, where exactly are we going? In case in point, there's a solution I was working on where they ultimately want to go from a picture, kind of like a picture of an invoice, like line items on an actual picture that somebody takes, and then turning that into a real invoice. The first step is, can the AI read the image and turn it into line items? And I don't care if you've got a genius step in number three or four or five kind of down the line. That doesn't matter. If the AI can't turn the picture into the solid line items, forget it. The system isn't going to work. And so ultimately, what we're doing is we're spending time with just that very beginning part to assure a huge amount of success, overwhelming success, where we go, this thing is solid. I can trust it. It's never going to be perfect in the same way that a human can't be perfect. But this thing is really solid. Now we can build the next piece. And so if we're trying to go fast or just get it done or, oh, just make it work, just make the factory produce a car, just go, that's really not the best way of doing it. We've got to the person who's actually building it has to be focused enough on, let me make sure that I get the first part right. Is it right? Everything's good. We're all solid. Let's audit it. Let's test it. Man, I've done this 10 times, 20 times now. This thing is working. Great. I'm now approved to go to step number two. I'm now approved to go to step number three, because otherwise you're ending up with tech debt. Otherwise, you're ending up with a system that you spend a lot of money and time on that just doesn't work at all. And now we throw it away, and what a waste. Versus, let's imagine that we've got a 10-step process that a human does now. Steps 1 through 10, the human does everything. If all we automate is just step number one, and we don't automate the other 9 steps, but it works, we are way better off than if we try to just automate all 10 steps and it just doesn't really work and we have to throw it away. So much rather have a solid system where we build intelligently and we build with lots of auditing and lots of testing and logging and paying attention to what it's doing to then approve ourselves to then go to the next step, then just try to build fast and get it done.
So when you're working with your clients, typically, how long is I appreciate different projects can be of different scales, but
Sure.
roughly how long is your support for the client in say weeks or months? How long do you normally spend with each client?
That's a great question. Well, and I'm sorry to say it really does differ so much. Some of these solutions you can build in a day, and some of these solutions will take weeks or even months to build and get right. When it comes down to a voice AI, for instance, sometimes all voice AI needs to do is, "Hi, welcome. Can I answer any questions for you, or do you want to book a tour?" That's all it needs to do. It's got to be able to reference a body of material and come up with an answer, which is not too difficult for AI to do. And then it's also got to help them book a tour, or like send them a text message to the booking link. That's not really difficult. That's not really difficult to do. But the voice AI that I was working on, that was like an interview agent. Now we're in a little bit of a different territory. It's got to carry on a long conversation. It has to be able to, speak back and kind of summarize back to the person what they just said. It's got to be quick on its feet. If the person asks something out of bounds, it's got to keep it corralled. It's got to be able to carry on 5 or 10 minute conversation that goes kind of in a certain direction. But if the human throws a wrench, it's got to keep them on track and keep them coming back to it. That's a little bit more difficult than just, answering a few questions and then sending a link. So it all depends on the kind of the extent of how far we're going. And, again, some of this stuff, I can build in a day and we're done. We know when I'm building automations for myself, very typically what I'm doing is I'm building part of it and then I'm using it for a little while, and then I'm building part of it, and then I'm using it for a while. And I keep coming back. When I keep coming back to the project, I make it better and better and better, because I see reward and value in, if I've got a 10-step process for myself, if I've only got time to automate one step, the next time I come back to it, I just zoom right through that. I just zoom right through the next one, whatever it is. I love kind of building strongly and building where it works so that when I come back to it, I can just build on top of that. And so in those cases, that can last sometimes months where I'm going back to the same project. I'm working on something right now that helps edit video, basically edit like kind of like social media video where somebody's talking to the camera and they say or they kind of restart their sentence or they take a break for a second. And I want to be able to just throw that at AI and just say, cut it down, edit it down, and make it make sense. And I've gone back to this now multiple times. I started with it during Christmas time when I wanted to go through an hour's worth of my children being interviewed as a gift to my wife, and I wanted to just find these cute moments. So it started, this genesis was just find me cute moments and I'll chop it myself. Then the second version was, I want you to start chopping it, find me the moments, and then now AI, you chop the video. And now I'm on this last step where I can just throw a video in or even throw multiple videos in, and it can give me multiple derivatives of edits, not just finding a clip for me, but actually putting together a video and then chopping it a different way, and then chopping it a different way, as if I had 10 different video editors editing the same video and kind of tightening it down. So it's been kind of in iteration, getting better and better, but it was valuable from day one. It helped me from day one, even though now it can do much more. It still was valuable from day one. And this is an insight I think is so important to business owners nowadays. We shouldn't be building everything perfectly end to end and it's all good before we turn it on. No, it's let's build a piece of it and then the humans take the rest of it, and let's build another piece of it and the humans do the rest of it. Let's build another piece of it. And so as time goes on, it just gets stronger and stronger. And what happens there is that then we end up actually getting some great learnings along the way. And the learnings actually help design a better system. The learnings help us understand what we should be doing next with it. Because at the beginning of a software project or an AI project, we can only know so much. But as soon as we start using it and we see the results, as if we hired somebody and said, hey, you're on, let's see what you can do. We can then train, we can then change it, we can then go a different direction or pivot or modify. And that's a huge advantage in today's world.
What makes for you satisfaction in your work? What makes for a successful project for you, Eddie?
I like that question. I love seeing the lights go on for the business owner when they realize, like, oh my God, this works. In submitting that voice agent to the client, I was so happy to see her excited about it. She had actually tested some previous versions where sometimes the microphone was too sensitive, so it was interrupting the AI agent, and it was giving a bad taste. And then there was another time where it went off track, it went out of bounds, and that was giving a bad taste. And I delivered last week this new version, and it was solid and it worked really well. And so seeing her say, oh my gosh, this is a game changer for me. And then also seeing her test it with some friends later was so exciting for me to realize this is getting used and it's going to be such an asset. And again, this is just the starting place. This is the version we're at now. I'm sure we're going to make another version or make it better or more refined or whatever else it is. So I love seeing the business owner's excitement in this. And there really is just a wonderful excitement in getting it far enough that it's saving time. And oh my gosh, that used to take me, an hour, and now it's just gone, or now it takes me 5 or 10 minutes. That's so exciting for me when I'm building automations for myself too. It's really fun to realize I'm so glad I don't have to do that ever again. It's really fun.
Eddie, we're at the end of our time. If any of the audience want to know more, where can they find you?
Sure. Yeah. So my business is Nashville AI Advisory. So if you go to nashvilleaiadvisory.com, you'll find my website there. Also on Instagram. I'd love to connect. I'd love to be able to help you, understand what to do with your business and be able to get the most out of AI.
Eddie, it's been great chatting with you. Thanks for your time. And that's it for this edition of the Coaching Conversation. And we'll speak to you again soon. Bye. So, there you have it, the latest edition of the Coaching Conversation. Hope you enjoyed it, hope you found it useful, and I hope it did what it set out to do. As promised at the beginning of the program, here is a special offer for you, our loyal audience. If you reach out to me at gwiley@sagereen.com and mention this podcast, we'll make available to you a coaching program for you and or your team at a 50% discount. So where can you reach us? So it's definitely gwiley@sagereen.com. You can also reach us at the executive mindset at sagereen.com, and our website is clearly theexecutivemindset.co.uk. If you enjoyed this, do please leave us with a wonderful rating on Google. We'd really appreciate that. So nothing more for me to say now other than see you again soon.